Hey, what's up guys? JQ back with Teqreation, where I use technology for recreation. So for the past 96 days or so, I laid the iPhone to rest and I've been using nothing but the Galaxy S10 Plus day in and day out, and I got a lot to say about this phone. Also, side note, I went ahead and picked up the Galaxy Buds, so expect a separate video on that coming up soon. You don't want to miss that one. So yeah, since I owe you guys, let's not waste any time. Now, I always preferred the Plus model of smartphones simply because it's always the top tier option, so I mean, why not? Now, I chose this Prism white color that has this sort of mint color shifting going on. It's very easy on the eyes, easily my favorite color option. I love looking at this phone. And a guilty pleasure of mine when it comes to smartphones is not using any cases or skins, but more importantly it's because I like the way certain phones look, and the Galaxy S10 is one of those. Now, there are consequences for not using protection, and I managed to earn myself a few scuffs along the screen. It's hard to see when the display is on, but they're there nonetheless. And a couple dents from 2 isolated drops on both wood and steel. Now, I don't know if it's the Gorilla Glass 6, but I expected much worse damage from the falls that it took. It was those falls where you was like, ooh, that can't be good, and you kind of felt it in your chest and afraid to pick up the phone. So yeah, considering an all glass body without a case, the phone actually fared pretty well to my surprise. Now, another reason I should have a case on this phone is because from my experience, the palm rejection on this phone is terrible. I can't even tell you how many times I would be watching a YouTube video and then accidentally tap another video with the palm or adjacent finger. Or like, for example, say I would be scrolling through Instagram, I would accidentally like or save somebody's photo, giving everybody free attention. Now, you can always download an app called Edge Touch that's exclusively for Galaxy devices to improve this by customizing the touch points, but that's just another step that I think shouldn't be necessary, and I just really don't feel like taking. So now, I could have also prevented damage to the screen by leaving the pre-installed screen protector on, which was a nice courtesy by Samsung, but unfortunately, it just affected the in-display fingerprint sensor at the time. Samsung is well known for debuting this breakthrough technology on their flagship phones when it's not exactly perfected yet, it's still a little rough around the edges, and this in-display fingerprint sensor is one of those examples. Now, I won't bash it too much like I initially wanted to during my early phase with this phone, because the fingerprint sensor has gotten much better after software update. It's still not perfect though. Every now and then I still get the no match sensor rejection, especially when your finger is wet. Forget about it, it's just not gonna work at all. And I just find myself unlocking with a passcode more times than I would like on any given day. And I say all of that with perspective in mind because that's important. I'm transitioning from the iPhone's Face ID, which in my opinion is flawless. So naturally you sort of raise your bar of expectation from the competition. And for me at least, the S10's in-display fingerprint sensor is a minor step back when it comes to biometric reliability. Now, out the box, the display isn't at full resolution, so one of the first things I did was change that within the power mode settings. So within the different power modes, you can customize the resolution and brightness settings to your liking, and some other features as well. Now, I usually touch on this towards the end of my videos, but because of these settings, the battery life on the S10 has been incredible. Extremely reliable. I mean, I could leave the house without breaking a sweat. I mean, there's no anxiety scrambling for chargers, even in last minute scenarios. Now, I highly recommend using optimized and just leave it there because despite its lower peak brightness, this phone lasts all day on this setting. And I find that there's really no performance difference between this and high performance mode. So I mean, why not? Samsung's aggressive power saving features would allow you to stretch out an almost dead battery by several hours on maximum power saving. And I've never even come close to having to use that. Now, because of its great battery, when I do have to charge, I find myself using wireless charging more than ever these days, simply because I know that a little bit of charge here and there would get me through my day with no problem. Now, the display is gorgeous as usual. I think we all already know this by now, and you can really appreciate this when watching shows or movies in 4K HDR. And obviously the stereo speaker setup helps with that experience. So as far as consuming content goes, no complaints whatsoever. Now, you guys know the phases I've been through when it comes to smartphones. So settling back to Android after committing to the iPhone does make me miss the simpler iOS experience, but I'm also really happy with what Samsung did with their all-new One UI software. So acknowledging the gigantic screen sizes on their smartphones, Samsung moved screen elements just a little bit lower, making it easier to reach. The tabs within the settings are just a little bit cleaner, and overall the UI is just easier to maneuver. Now, I'm not that crazy about their icons, but it's no big deal though because I can always install a new theme or a new icon pack back that suits my taste. And that's one of the best things about being back on Android is customization. Now, I do dig the real-time analog clock icon. I think that's a nice little touch. That's something that the iPhones have had for a while, and I could always appreciate those small details. And now, thanks to Android Pie, gestures on the S10 make that transition from iOS a little bit easier. There is some getting used to, but overall they work great. I prefer having multi-window on the right with the gesture hints enabled because this adds visual indicators that make it easier to swipe, but also it allows you to jump back to the previous app by swiping right on the home button just like you can on iOS. And mind you, you can't do that if you have the gesture hints disabled, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, a quick note about switching apps. It's not as fluid as I would expect for a phone that has 8 GB of RAM. I mean, even on high performance mode, I get this strange flickering when bouncing between apps. It becomes an eyesore at times. And honestly, I'm not even surprised at this point. It's typical Samsung fashion to have all this power inside and still have software hiccups. So I won't even dwell on it too much because it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, Bixby itself has improved as well. An added feature that I've used several times already is this scene optimizer feature that's powered by Bixby. And one of the features is that it lets you scan documents on a surface from an angle and then adjust it accordingly. And this feature has come in handy for me on more than one occasion. I use it a lot for receipts and just overall bookkeeping. And that's one of those features that I didn't expect to use as much as I actually did. And you know, I think it's evolved to the point where Bixby deserves its own video. And as a fan of voice assistants, there's a lot that I want to talk about. So press that like button if you want to see a video on that. Now, speaking of things that's gotten better is the camera department. So that triple camera setup aesthetically looks dope. And not only is it a great design, but it's also extremely practical. The array of standard, wide, and zoom lens really gives you that freedom of capturing what you need to, regardless of the subject's size or distance. The ability to seamlessly transition between all 3 lenses as you pinch to zoom is extremely practical. For example, if I'm looking for parking and I can't read the parking sign, I can just punch in and read the details of the sign without losing any quality. So that's one thing I've been using it for. Or let's say if I'm too close to a subject, a simple tap of the wide angle lens would go ahead and take care of that. Now, even though the camera quality hasn't really improved, features like live focus have. So in my opinion, while I still don't think it's as refined as the Pixel and iPhone's camera, it's gotten so much better than before. The processing this time around does a much better job at separating the foreground and background, and these cool blur effects make taking photos on Samsung phones fun again. Each effect tells a different story, which is what makes it so much fun, and you can change the effects after the fact. Color pop is my favorite effect. It reminds me of that movie Pleasantville. Something that would take 5 minutes in Photoshop is done with a single press of a button. You can see how this would encourage users to take more photos, and you know, that's really the name of the game when it comes to these smartphones cameras. Get consumers to use your camera more than the other guys. Now, I do want to add though, the S10's camera is not as snap and go as the iPhone or Pixel's cameras are. I feel like you always have to leave it there about a second after taking a photo, because if you move your hand too fast, you're gonna get a soft shot or a blurry shot, especially in low light scenarios when the shutter is open too wide. There's really nothing you could do about that, and that's something that I don't experience with the other camera smartphones. Now, the opposite is true in daylight. Daylight shots look fantastic on the Galaxy S10. The colors and contrast is on point, extremely sharp and detailed. The autofocus is on point, locking focus instantly on moving subjects. Very impressed with how fast the autofocus is. Also, features like shot suggestions help you get better shots. It basically analyzes the shot and it suggests the best area to point the camera with the level indicated to make sure your shots are well composed. It takes most of the guesswork out of framing, resulting in well composed shots. I love this feature. It's great for monument photography. And the last feature I want to talk about is the AR emojis. So this pretty much lets you create your very own avatar based on a single picture of your face. And it does a generous job of scanning and characterizing you appropriately. You can then fine tune your facial features and switch up your wardrobe, change your eyebrows, the shape of your eyes, add accessories, and then when you're done, you can replace your own face with it in real time, take selfies or videos, have a little bit of fun with it. You can place yourself in your current environment using AR. I recall using this on the Pixel phone with their Star Wars characters, and overall it's just something fun to play around with. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Galaxy S10. Even though it's not perfect, I can take this camera outdoors with confidence and no longer have to look to my Pixel phone. Or then again, I kind of missed that phone. But anyway, yeah, solid choice overall. If anybody's looking for a suitable upgrade, whether you're coming from the iPhone or looking to upgrade your current Android device, the Galaxy S10 Plus is a solid choice in my opinion. So what do you guys think? How's your experience been with using the Galaxy S10? Do you agree or disagree with some of the stuff I said in this video? Drop those comments down below, post it for other people to read. As always, if you enjoyed this video, show some love to that like button. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe and turn on the alerts. This way you're notified whenever I drop another awesome tech video. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.